All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to TechGig webinar series, our endeavor to empower techies. We believe that sharing of knowledge is the key to enhance our skills and grow us as professionals. With this principle in mind, we've initiated a series of webinars conducted by industry experts to give you all a crisp insight of various domains. The topic of this session is PRINCE2 for Value-Driven Project Management. Our guest speaker today is Siddharth Pari. He is MSPP, PMP, Prince2, ITIL expert. More than 10 years of experience in information technology field with expertise in project management, process optimization, solution architecture, and development for object-oriented technologies, and over 4 years of experience in project management and more than 5 years in managing teams. He has also experience in telecom domain, IVR, voice and contact center applications, retail and gaming. He's also developed and delivered IT services management solutions based on ITIL best practices that focused on the people, process, technology, organization, and integration perspectives of providing business solutions within IT infrastructure. We expect this webinar to last for about an hour with 40 to 45 minutes of presentation and remainder time for Q&A round. So if you have any questions during the webinar, please submit them using questions tab in your control panel. So without further delay, I introduce you all to our guest speaker. Over to you, Siddharth.
Thanks, Deepika. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to this webinar for the PRINCE2 for Value-Driven Project Management. The objective of conducting this webinar is to give you brief insight about the certification in project management, which is well known across the world, that is PRINCE2. So we'll be going across for the brief overview about what this PRINCE2 certification is, what are its different components, how it is related to project management, or in other words, how would it help the prospective project managers or the aspiring project managers or the current project managers in driving their projects effectively and efficiently. So let's start with this session. So in this module, we will understand the introduction to PRINCE2, the overview of PRINCE2, principles, themes, and processes. So what is PRINCE2? PRINCE2 stands for an acronym named as Projects in a Controlled Environment. This certification was originated in UK and was owned by OGC. Currently, the ownership of PRINCE2 lies with the Axelos. So PRINCE2 can be tailored and applied to any project regardless of the project scale, type, organization, geography, or culture. This is one of the USPs of PRINCE2, which you will not find in other project management certification. For an example, PMP. The tailoring part, which we'll be covering later on, will give you a brief insight about how a project can be tailored through the PRINCE2. Okay, so let's go with it. So according to PRINCE2, the definition of project is as this. A project is a temporary organization, a temporary organization that is created for the purpose of delivering one or more business products according to an agreed business case. What it describes about the project is that the project PRINCE2 consider as temporary. What does temporary means? Temporary means that the project has a start, middle and end time. The other part is a project is a temporary organization. In this case, what does the organization means? Organization means that there are a group of people brought together to deliver business value, business product. So let me reiterate the definition of PRINCE2. A project which is a temporary organization that is created for the purpose of delivering one or more business products according to an agreed business case. The business case means why this project is being done. What is the purpose of doing this project? That is the most important, one of the underlying principle through which PRINCE2 as a model performs. Let us move ahead in understanding, before what the PRINCE2 prescribes, how the PRINCE2 as a certification is different than the other project management certification, which is known as PMP. I hope you would be aware about the PMP certification that is conducted. So, in a PRINCE2, the acronym which we have already discussed stands for the Projects in Control Environment. PMP acronym stands for the Project Management Professional. So PRINCE2 is more of a structured project management methodology which is endorsed by the UK government. PMP, on the other hand, is a credential which is offered by PMI and is the another most popular project management certification endorsed by US. So the PRINCE2 is more of a process-based approach to project management, whereas PMP is more of a knowledge-based approach. The other added advantage for the aspiring candidate is there are no prior knowledge or expertise required in project management to do the PRINCE2 certification, whereas PMP has their eligibility criteria which needs to be fulfilled for appearing for their respective certifications. So PRINCE2 is more of a prescriptive. Prescriptive means which is pertaining to giving directions or rules. PMP is more of a non-prescriptive in nature. So PRINCE2 defines the roles of everyone involved in the project. On the other hand, PMP just focuses on the project manager's role only. The other structural difference between PMP and PRINCE2 is in PMP, each topic area being referred to can be referred to in isolation of others. It's like a plug and play model where you could involve few processes and leave the rest of the processes if not relevant to you. In Prince2, it is an integrated set of processes and themes, not isolated silos that can be applied selectively. The principles in Prince2 are non-negotiable. We'll come to that principles later in one of the other slides. So, the structure of PMP describes that there are detailed techniques which are well documented and are part of the framework, like the technique like the PERT estimation technique, the own value management, bottom-up estimation. These all different techniques are well structurally explained in the PMP. The Prince2 is specialist aspects and detailed techniques which are not elaborated in the framework itself due to the generic nature of the framework. So there are other questions that was coming on the screen is how Prince2 would score better than PMP. These are the you won't say that one certification is better than the other, or Prince2 is better than PMP, or PMP is better than Prince2. The objective of me to explain between this to give you a brief overview about the structural differences between PMP and Prince2. Coming back to the question, which certification should we choose and how, either the PMP or Prince2. Why I've taken this question? Since we are, continuously going for it, the differences between the two. So the answer is it depends. If one do not have any preference of either of the certifications, you may go with Prince2, or PMP would hardly make any difference. From the point of certification only. From the point of knowledge, each have a different structure which we have already discussed about. So on your screens you would have seen the history of Prince2. It started with 1975, then it moved to 1979, a different version, then in 1989. So currently the Prince2 is a registered trademark of Axelos. The next thing is, if we go with Prince2 in terms of the certification and in terms of the application of the knowledge which is prescribed by Prince2. So in that case, which of the certification would help out, or let me put it in a very simple way, what are the benefits of Prince2? So the Prince2 certification embodies the established and proven best practices and governance. Prince2 as a project can be applied to any type of project. You may note it down. It can be applied to any type of project. That is why it is the most widely applicable structure. It is also widely recognized and understood because it brings common vocabulary for all of us. The other benefit of following the Prince2 structure is it provides explicit recognition of project responsibilities and roles. In other words, its more focus is on the product aspect. So what does the product focus clarifies? It clarifies what a project will deliver, why it will deliver, when it will be delivered, by whom it will be delivered, and for whom it will be delivered. It is also carefully designed to meet the different levels in the management team and improving the communication and control among them. It is based on the principle of management by exception. What it states is, in a layman language, is do not involve management each and every time when the issue arises during the project. There should be a tolerance limit which must be set across at each level in the project team, and where the tolerance limit breaches, then in certain cases only it should be escalated to management. So based on management by exception framework, which it provides for the efficient and economic use of the management time. So management only intervenes when the personnel fails to meet the standards or this which has been set across by the project board to the project manager. It also ensures that participants focus on the viability of the project in relation to its business case objectives. The other benefit of following the PRINCE2 structure is it provides thorough but economical structure of the reports. So unlike PMP, which prescribes a lot of documentation part, PRINCE2 only have 26 reports which has to be taken care of across the project, and not just by the project manager, by each one of the roles which has been prescribed by PRINCE2. So PRINCE2 ensures that the stakeholders are properly represented in planning and decision making. It also promotes consistency of project work and helps in ability to reuse the project assets. PRINCE2 helps in the learning among the project teams and in the continual improvement of those things. PRINCE2 has a wide network of professional community across the globe. So how is the PRINCE2 exam structure? So PRINCE2 has two levels, PRINCE2 Foundation and PRINCE2 Practitioner exam. Let us have a look of each of the exam structure. In the PRINCE2 Foundation exam, the foundation is the first level of the PRINCE2 examination, which the participant, the candidate need to be passed. This is a basic level exam which aims to measure whether a candidate would be able to act as an informed member of a project team using the PRINCE2 methodologies or not. The candidate in PRINCE2 Foundation is expected to have a good understanding of four integrated elements of PRINCE2, which are principles, processes, themes, and the project environment. So PRINCE2 organizational structure focuses on the key roles and associated responsibility with each of the roles. The format of the PRINCE2 Foundation exam is as follows. It's a multiple choice exam with 1 hour of duration, having 75 questions, out of which 35 correct answers are required. It's a closed book and no negative marking comprises. The next level, after an individual clears the PRINCE2 Foundation exam, is the practitioner. So the practitioner is the second level, after which, upon the clearing, the individual is certified as a PRINCE2 certified professional. So this level basically aims to assess whether a candidate would be able to apply the PRINCE2 to the real-time projects within an environment supporting PRINCE2. It also requires for the candidate to demonstrate their competencies for the foundation and to show that they can apply and tune the PRINCE2 framework to address the needs and problems of a specific project. In other words, the candidate must be able to apply, produce the detailed explanation of all processes, components, and techniques, and worked examples of all PRINCE2 products as they may be applied to address the particular circumstances of a given project scenario. The candidate also has to show that they understand the relationship between principles, themes, processes, and the PRINCE2 product, and which can help them in applying this understanding. So they need to show the demonstration in order to tailor the PRINCE2 to different project environment as well. The PRINCE2 format, practitioner examination format, is quite different than the format of the foundation. It just has 8 questions with a scenario appended with each of those questions. And each question is worth 10 marks. So you need to score at least 44 out of those possible 80 marks. That is, you require at least 55% to clear your practitioner exam. It is a 2.5 duration exam, and only the official, I'm repeating, only the official PRINCE2 manual is allowed during the exam. So a PRINCE2 registered PRINCE2 practitioner should re-register themselves within 5 years of their original certification. What it means is a PRINCE2 certification is valid for the time of 5 years. A candidate thereafter has to appear for a 1-hour examination set as the same standard as the practitioner exam. Let us come back to the structure of PRINCE2 which we were discussing about. We have discussed about how the definition of PRINCE2 is in terms of the project. So some examples of the project, and how is a project different than the operations, or in the words, how is project different than the business as usual, which is also known as operation. So let us come to that part and then we'll move back to the characteristics of a project. So a project is temporary, whereas the operations is an ongoing activity. The projects are unique They bring unique results. Operations over project is a repetitive exercise. Once operation objective is to sustain the business, so it's a continuous process. Whereas the project closes after attaining its objectives. So projects has a definite start and end time, whereas business as usual or operations is an ongoing process. Through projects, it brings about change, whereas business as usual or operation benefits from change. Let us now understand what is a project and its characteristics. So characteristics which we were discussing about was they bring about change. All the projects bring change, and the change can be in the form of processes, products, tools and techniques, maybe an organizational structure, or at least the expectation that's met out of it. They are temporary. By temporary we mean as they have a defined start and end time. They are usually cross-functional. By cross-functional we mean as you are dealing or working with people whom you do not know on a daily basis. So projects involve a team of people with different skill set working together, like the engineers, testers, business analysts, and so on. Every project is unique. By unique we mean is though there may be common elements in the project, but the two projects will differ in terms of the team, the resources involved in it, the location on which the project is performed, the environment under which that performance is. For an example, you might be constructing a shopping mall, providing similar offerings, but maybe in two different geographical locations. So in the project, there's a degree of uncertainty associated with all the projects. Why a degree of uncertainty? Because it's a unique project. Project has to be unique. Projects are progressively elaborated. But progressively elaborated means is over the period of time when we move ahead in working towards a project, more and more information comes at the later stages. So what is project management? Project management is the application of knowledge, application of skills, tools, and techniques to project activities to meet the project requirement. So in a project management, the project manager requires the knowledge, the performance, and the personal skill set to perform better at their jobs. So the typical work of a project manager involves requirement gathering, managing stakeholder expectations, managing key project aspects which include the scope, quality, schedule, resource, benefits, and risk. So generally, from a project manager's perspective, what is it we wish to control? We wish to control the scope. We wish to control the cost, the time scales, the quality, the risk, the benefits. By scope, what do we mean? By scope, we mean is exactly what will the project deliver, what is included, what is excluded. The cost talks about how the project would be affordable. The project has to be affordable. When we talk about timescales, we're talking about when the project will be finished. The quality aspect talks about, is it the project, is it the product which we are making, is it the fit for purpose or not? How much risk are we prepared to accept? That will cover under the risk aspect. And the first and the most important thing, one of the underlying principles of PRINCE2 projects is the business case. Why are we doing this project? That is covered under your benefit aspects. So all these aspects of project are being covered under PRINCE2. So what is a program? A project can run as a standalone entity or can be part of a program of related projects. A program is a temporary, flexible organizational structure which is created to coordinate, direct, and oversee the implementation of a set of related projects and activity in order to deliver outcomes and benefits related to organization's strategic objectives. So generally, a program is likely to have a longer time span than the project. So how is the program different than the projects? A project has a limited set of efforts to create a unique product, service, or result, whereas a program is a group of related projects and possibly some related work that does not belong to any project. So in a project, the project manager expects change and implements processes to manage and control it, whereas the program manager must expect changes from both inside and outside the program and must thrive on them if they help maximize the strategic business benefits of the organized program. So let us see how the PRINCE2 integrated elements are composed of. So PRINCE2 is composed of the processes, principles, and themes. So let me take you how these are related to each other and what is their effect on the project. So PRINCE2 is based on 7 key principles. PRINCE2 is based on 7 key principles. These 7 principles are supported by 7 themes. Project in PRINCE2 is then delivered using the 7 processes. So in PRINCE2, everything in PRINCE2 is based on principles. They are the foundation of framework. Themes, on the other hand, are the aspects of project management that must be addressed consistently throughout the project. Processes describes who is responsible for performing the themes at different points of project. So is Prince2 covers everything, or there are some aspects which Prince2 does not cover? So there are basically three aspects which Prince2 is not covering. The first is the specialist aspects. That is, Prince2 is not any industry or type specific work. It is entirely generic. The next thing which Prince2 does not cover is detailed techniques. So when you are doing project management, there would be many proven planning and control techniques that can be used in support of the Prince2 themes. So specific Prince2 approaches like product-based planning and quality review techniques are included. But the other proven planning and control techniques, like I was talking about the PER technique, on value management, are not covered under Prince2. The other Prince aspect, and probably the last aspect, which is not in the scope of Prince2, is the leadership capabilities. Because Prince2 thinks that leadership capabilities are two diverse topics, and hence it is not possible to be covered under in a method of Prince2. Tailoring. One of the USPs of Prince2 is the tailoring approach. This is one of the USPs of Prince2, which ensures that project controls are based on the project scale, project complexity, project importance, project capability, and project risk. So in the practical environment, your projects are differentiated on the scale, complexity, importance, capability, and risk. So what you apply in one project may not be applicable to the other project. And this is where Prince2 plays an effective role. We earlier stated that the Prince2 principles, let me reiterate one other point if I missed it. The Prince2 principles are non-negotiable. What I mean by non-negotiable is, irrespective of the processes or themes that you apply, if you have to deem or term your project as a Prince2 project, all these 7 principles need to be applied in any of the Prince2 project. So the key element in Prince2 is tailoring, because we need to tailor to the environment we are working in and depending upon the size of project we are working to. So the principles of Prince2 are continued business justification, defining roles and responsibilities, learning from experience, managing your project by stages, managing by expectations, focus on products, and tailor to suit the project environment. The Prince2 theme comprises of business case, organization, quality, plans, risk, change, and progress. The processes or the activities are also 7 processes, which we have covered in are one of our earlier slides. This is how the relationship between Prince2 principle, processes, and theme exists. This is how the course topic of the Prince2 would be structured, where you'll have the modules, 5 modules, Prince2 integrated elements, then your principles will be covering, then the themes will be covering, then the processes and tailoring Prince2. With this, we are done with the presentation of Prince2. Now is the time to take up the questions which has been sent across by each one of you in the questions box.
Thank you,
So the
Siddharth.
first question is,
Yeah, thank you, Siddharth. We're requesting to take up the questions. Request you to read out the questions first so that all our users may listen to the commendable insights.
Okay. So the first question is been raised by Abhishek Shukla. How Prince2 is different than PMP and Agile? Okay. How Prince2 is different than PMP, I've already covered. Agile is it is based up is a framework. So on a framework, Agile has a different concept. So Agile is a framework. Prince2 is we talked about Prince2 it's based upon certain processes. PMP is a standard. So each one of has their different objectives. So based upon your Agile framework, you have different other certifications and exams. For an example, the Scrum certifications. I hope I've answered your question. If not, you can type in your question back again and let me know your reviews, Abhishek. The next question is from Sai Krishna. Should we renew Prince2 certification or is it lifetime one? I have answered it, but I'll re-answer it as Prince2 certification is valid for 5 years only, and then you have to renew it. Let us take across our third question. How Prince2 scores better than PMP? I've answered this question. You cannot, this question was raised by Nimesh Doshi. How Prince2 scores better than PMP? One cannot say, and it would be wrongfully to say that Prince2 is better or PMP is better. It is kind of, you would say, the approach that you need to follow. There are many organizations which are using the Prince2 framework. There are others who are using the PMP, but there are many others who are using the hybrid. That is the culmination of where Prince2 is good, implying the Prince2 aspects, where PMP is good, implying the PMP aspects. The next question is from Mohammad Shahjahan. Are there 2 certifications from Prince2? Yes, there are 2 certifications in Prince2. The first is your Prince2 Foundation and the other is your Prince2 Practitioner. The other question is from Mr. Mohammed. He has asked us, how much time would it take for the preparation? I would say the answer is it depends. But generally, in a month's time, you would be able to clear your PRINCE2 certifications. The other question is raised by Mr. Nimesh. His question is, in India, is PRINCE2 or PMP more accepted certification? The answer to you is, it depends. There is no final, clarification whether PRINCE2 is better. So it is more of a question like which is better, PRINCE2 or PMP in India. Again, the question is, it depends. Aditya Singh has raised a question is, project management technique using some processes. Aditya, I would request you to clarify your question. I'm not able to understand it. What exactly do you wish to ask in terms of PRINCE2? The next question is from Mr. Mahesh. I have more than 6 years experience in system IT and networking industry. I have done ITIL and MBA IT. Please confirm PMP or PRINCE2 better for me. Mahesh, both the certifications have their own utility. However, if you have not done either of the certifications in project management, you can choose any of them. If you want, I would rather suggest you can go with PRINCE2 first, and then you may go with the PMP later on if you find it more useful. The question from Mr. Nimesh is, PRINCE2 Foundation also is valid for 5 years? It does not have a validity, it has a lifetime. The next question is from Mr. Santosh. What are the fees for both certifications? Santosh, I would recommend for this to get in touch with any of the training organizations like an Edureka. They would help you out and let you know the fees for both of the certifications, since it varies from organization to organization and based upon the quality standards set across both by those organizations. By this, I hope I've answered the question of Mr. Kanan too, which question was, can you give details of cost of PRINCE2 certification, both levels? Kanan, I would recommend to get in touch with the training organizations for better clarity, as the certifications are being governed by the training organizations only. The question from Mr. Amit Sen Gupta next is, can we get list of authorized centers for PRINCE2 certification in Delhi NCR area? How much does it cost? So the cost part I've already answered. To get the list of authorized centers for PRINCE2 certification Delhi NCR, I think the Edureka do help out in providing the online courses. So it is not geographically strict with Delhi NCR or elsewhere in Mumbai or across the globe. So if you wish, you can get in touch with them for that. The next question is from Mr. Aditya Singh. He says that how much it costs PRINCE2 Foundation in advance. Aditya, I hope you would have got this answer. And the similar question is from Mr. Satish Jadhav too. What is the cost for this certification? I hope I've answered each of your query. I would still request, if you have any doubts, any clarity which each one of you need for PRINCE2, you can please raise your question right here in the questions answer box. The next question is from Mr. Amit Sen Gupta. Does PRINCE2 certification is enough, or PMP also will boost career along with PRINCE2? Amit, I would recommend that you do either of the certifications. That would be good enough for your career prospect. However, it may happen that some client or the customer or the organization might ask you, going forward to do other project management certifications. If you're done PRINCE2, they might ask you PMP or vice versa. However, it happens in few of the cases only. But looking from the career perspective, PRINCE2 is the widely acceptable certification in the market. So you can vouch on it and go for it. The other question is from Mr. Mahesh. The question is, can you tell me if I learning PRINCE2 syllabus, is it covered PMP syllabus as well? The answer is no. PRINCE2 has a different methodology. PMP has a different methodology. Are there any other questions? The other question is from Mahesh. PRINCE2, is this a part of PMP or it is a different scenario? What is the correlation between two things and how can we differentiate? Mahesh, I hope if you were in this session, I've already answered this question. How is PRINCE2 and PMP different? So in that case, to answer your question, is PRINCE2 part of PMP? The answer is no. Is it a different scenario? Yes. What is the correlation between two things? The answer is both of them in certain aspects talks about project management. How can we differentiate it? I already have given the answer by listing several points between the difference between PRINCE2 and PMP. Do we have any other questions from any of the participants?
I think that's all for the questions today. Thank you, Siddharth. We are really thankful to you for conducting this webinar today. It was indeed a great session. And I would also like to thank all our participants for their support in making this webinar a huge success. The recording will be available to you all on techgig.com very soon. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for your time today.